Another UN-backed deal broken in the Balkans. Rebel Croatian Serb forces, whose leaders had yesterday promised to end their attacks on the Muslim-held Bihać enclave, were reported this morning to be continuing an assault backed with heavy weapons. It was assumed the Serbs' promise to pull back was simply a ploy to confuse Muslim and Croatian forces after their successes of recent days.
There have been, over the last 2 to 3 days, a certain pull-out of troops and soldiers, but not in a significant number compared with what got into the area before the 19th of July and the time after.
In the Croatian port of Split, new diplomatic ground was being broken. Foreign Minister Veljati of Iran greeted by his Croatian and Bosnian counterparts. Iran is rumoured to have been supplying the Muslim leadership in Sarajevo with arms and money for some time. The Bosnian government, which sees the internationalization of the conflict as its best chance, wants to ensure the Bihać crisis is not ignored.
From our information, the Serbian forces from Croatia as well as Bosnia have not withdrawn from the Bihać pocket. Therefore, we continue to insist upon NATO assistance to the safe area of Bihać, consistent with their commitment. And of course, we continue to call upon the Republic of Croatia, consistent with our agreement on military cooperation, to help.
And the Croatians have in recent days proved that they are now in a position to help both in military and political terms. The success of their combined operation with Bosnian Croat forces in capturing Serb-held towns in western Bosnia last Friday showed that the Serbs can no longer assume the vast arsenal bequeathed to them by the former Yugoslav army will forever give them victory on the battlefield. The deal struck earlier this month between President Tudjman of Croatia and Bosnia's President Izetbegovic meant that the Bosnians were finally rid of their illusions about the UN, which they say has failed them. They're now putting their trust in Franjo Tudjman's army. He felt confident enough of his military strength last night to reject the Croatian Serbs' offer to pull out, wanting them to start talks about handing power back to Zagreb.
Concerning the quick response of President Tudjman to yesterday's agreement of the UN envoy Mr. Akashi with the Croatian Serbs in Knin, for us it's only a Serbian attempt to buy time. That agreement didn't give a single answer to President Tudjman's proposals. Therefore, we don't consider it as a step towards a peaceful solution.
In 1991, Croatia's Serb minority used their superiority in weapons to take control of some 30% of the country. They called it Krajina and declared themselves independent. In a ceasefire agreement, the UN split the rebel-held lands into 4 sectors. That was 3.5 years ago. The Croatians have since become impatient, saying the UN have simply sanctioned the status quo of Serb control. Last May, Croatian forces recaptured Sector West, completely ignoring the UN peacekeepers based there. It was a signal that Zagreb's forces were ready to take on the Serbs. Last Friday, the Croatian army backed up Bosnian Croats in the capture of Grahova and Glamoc inside Bosnia from local rebel Serbs. Over the weekend, Zagreb's forces were reported to be massing around Karlovac, the most obvious jumping-off point for an attempt to help Muslim forces in the beleaguered Bihać enclave. A successful attack there would cut Krajina in 2. Croatian troops are also reportedly grouping to the east and west of Knin, the rebel Serb headquarters in Krajina, and also along the old front line in the east. However, Zagreb would have to be cautious about attacking Sector East, which contains the devastated town of Vukovar. Lying as it does on the border with Serbia, it would be easily reinforced from Belgrade. An action there would certainly bring in the still powerful army of rump Yugoslavia. It was the murderous intensity of the fighting across Croatia, reaching its zenith in Vukovar, which first turned the world's attention towards the Yugoslav war. The